Howdy, 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 and welcome to the Gardener. Today is June 22nd, 2019, and welcome to the garden tour for June. Alright, so the Grapevine is doing gangbusters. It is doing really well. There's a lot of fruit sets going on. You should be able to see this right here. Kind of, come on, adjust the light, there we go. We'll get a little bit of sunlight. But yeah, there's a lot of fruit sets going on all of this here. It is kind of like ridiculous, like how thick this is, but that's kind of what it is. I probably need to trim this back quite a bit because there's a lot of growth, but yeah, hopefully it will do well. Over here in the concrete raised bed here, I'm trying to get asparagus to grow, but I don't see anything really popping up, and I planted it a while ago, so we'll take a look at that, see what I'm doing, see if I can get it to kind of work. If not, then this might just be, you know, a dud, unfortunately. Over here in the rustic raised bed, I have the tomatoes going. So I got some T-posts, and then I ran a line right through them. This is actually just like electrical wire that I actually had. So I just kind of did that, and then I have that going down, kind of wrapping as I go, kind of doing the twist. So you can see right there, twisting it up, and as it grows, I'll keep twisting it up the vine. So this way it will kind of do that. So these are the black cherry, I think, and then the sun gold here. There is, I think, over here, yeah, like the starting of fruit set. At least some of it, most of it kind of fell off, but then there are blossoms here. I did recently just trim these guys up because they were getting a little bit too bushy. And then I have my Makotos here and there. So there's 4 Makotos here. I probably could have squeezed more in, but I wanted to make sure that there was going to be enough room. And I'm also just really bad at trying to cut things back because there's like 2 tomatoes here. So let this one vine up, and this one I might just kind of let sprawl. And then I have one good one there and like a little one that'll probably just have to pull because that one's just doing a little bit little. Then over here, a Cosmo, and then more of the tomatoes there. Alright, over here in the fenced off lasagna bed, it's doing pretty well. I've only had a little bit of issue in this particular bed. They actually, nothing really came in and ate too much, so that's very good here. But on the back is the cave beans, and some of them have decided to go up the trellis. I'm gonna have to kind of put some strings up along here so they can actually vine up a little bit more. But then these ones just kind of fell forward, so I'm gonna have to try to train them to go up this way. And like one of them decided to hug the Cosmo, which will probably bring, you know, that down to the ground. But yeah, I have my Black Simpson lettuce there, and then I got some sweet mesclun mix, which I kind of scattered through here. I'm gonna probably end up dividing these out a little bit because I kind of did a lot of dense seeding here and kind of space it out a little bit more. At least that's my idea. I threw some celery in the front here, and then in the middle is some chard, so you can see chard there, chard here. I got romaine over here, and you may notice all these little white things. Those are mulberry berries, so that's going to, give me a ton of weed pressure. So that is a little bit unfortunate because there is mulberries just hanging down. You can see right there. It's just loaded with the mulberries, and the birds are going to come knock them onto the ground here, but it is kind of what happens when you have trees kind of close to your garden, and this is just kind of the spot that I had. Alright, over here in the other concrete bed here is the garlic. So this garlic here, I think I got all the scapes off of them, but these are the hard necks, so they shoot up the scapes, and I basically just kind of snip them off. We'll kind of grill it up kind of like asparagus. It has a nice garlicky flavor. But I do have a lot of those. Some celery there that's gotten munched on and is regrowing, which is fine. And, you know, nice little Cosmo just chilling there. Not quite sure what I'm going to put here. I might throw a tomato plant there because I do have some tomato plants potted up. So I'm just kind of debating on that. But I don't want to get it in the way too much because the garlic here is going to be harvested probably within the next month or two, because you'll see some of these lower leaves here are starting to dry up. And basically, you don't want to let it dry too much. You can start seeing here how the leaves are starting to do the browning, so that means it's starting to get ready to be for harvest. I could probably harvest them now, but I want to wait, because the longer you wait, the bigger the bulbs are going to be. But hopefully that will do well. Alright, on this next bed here, the leeks have not done great. I mean, they're still there. They're not really doing as good as I was hoping. But, you know, I'll get a couple, hopefully decent-sized leeks here. You know, there's still some weeds. And I put more of the celery along the back there. The beans here, I'm actually kind of surprised that nothing decided to come and munch on these. And they have started setting actual green beans, which is very nice. I'm very happy with that. You know, there's about 2 per clump here. So there's like 8 plants, I think, or so. So the beans are just starting. They're not quite ready. I mean, I can pick this one here and just kind of do that because they're kind of little. Over here in the weaved bed, I've had a bunch of volunteer squash. Not entirely sure what it is because it is a volunteer here, so I just kind of like let it go because I didn't really know what else to put here. But these are the vining kind, so they are going to slowly kind of take over this area here. I'm going to probably try to move the vines and hit this with the lawnmower a little bit more because I do have a lot of weeds and things like that. But yeah, more of the garlic over here. Oh yeah, here we go. Here is Escape right here. So there are a couple that still have scapes on them, which I'm going to need to chop off. But yeah, you can see here the scape. So yeah, these guys basically are trying to make a seed heads on the top, which you can actually take those seeds and kind of grow like baby garlic and stuff like that, and kind of get bigger harvest. I've seen that done. I've tried it once, but I didn't really get any good germination on the seeds there. Alright, so this now brings me over to my little squash shells here. So if you remember, I was talking about making a compost pile here. I had some like yard clippings and things on there, and then I actually had some like wood and stuff there. So then what I ended up doing, because I wanted to put more squash out, because these are queen table squash, I believe, are these particular ones here. So what I ended up doing was I took mostly finished compost and I put it on top of the dry stuff here. And then I put some of the finished compost and planted the seeds here. I actually had them in like little starts, so I just kind of plopped them in. So that was a little while ago. They're basically just kind of establishing themselves, and basically it's kind of like a mixture of compost pile type thing, because there was like a lot of dry stuff. And I figured this would do good because the, you know, homemade compost, which is kind of weedy and fine, so this will kind of bush over. This should hopefully get a good amount of moisture and breakdown over this season, and then next season I can kind of spread this out a little bit more, because it does get a little bit more sun than this guy over here. So I initially just took out this area because I just kind of was like, oh, this isn't going to grow well. But then again, I am just a sucker for wanting to put more stuff in. So this over here is doing a little bit yellow, actually. So I might have to come back and do something. I did get some blood meal for nitrogen, which I think the yellowing is showing what it is, or it might just be a lack of sun. But this is the spaghetti squash, so hopefully that will go. I'll have to go through and rip out some of these. I think this is a grapevine, but yeah, I'll have to go through and do some weeding on that. But basically, my hope is that this will kind of vine out in this area here, take up a good amount of space. There is a bunch of like grass and stuff that's popped up because I didn't really do a great job of weeding before I mulched, and I didn't put nearly enough mulch down to kind of stop the grass from coming up. But it is what it is. I'm not all that saddened by it. It's just going to be more work to kind of maintain. Alright, up near the front here, basically I think I had some onion sets here, but they've all kind of died off or got eaten or chomped or something. Not entirely certain. So I'm just kind of making this into a flower type bed. So I have some snapdragons right there, those 4 plants there. I left a gap here to put some more stuff, which I'm starting from seed. Then I forget what these ones are, because I'm fantastic like that. Some zinnias there. That is something. I have no idea really what it is. I think it's like a carrot plant, maybe? But I've just kind of been letting it go. Something's decided to come and munch on it, which is fine. I don't mind, because I don't even know what that is. And there was some garlic over in this area, which I missed a couple of years ago, and it's just kind of been popping up, and I've just kind of let it go, so there's just some permanent garlic little starts there. I might dig those up and use them to start garlic this upcoming season. Then over here in the expanded bed that I've made, the corn here is doing pretty good. I think it's doing good here. I may have to thin these guys out because there are like 2 in each spot, some of which, some of these spots only 1 came up, which is fine. I did have a lot of extra growth coming over here from the weeds, so there's a little bit of corn that's not doing great, but I'm hoping that it will get a good chunk of the corn this year, because it's kind of dense. It might be too dense, but I'll find out. And then yes, yet again, another volunteer squash. So I'm just kind of letting them kind of roam down and kind of vine out. I don't know which kind this is. I think it will probably be another like butternut, if I have to guess, because I do have a lot of butternuts in my compost. Then up here, the Shasta Daisy is kind of blooming, keeps coming back. I moved the chives up front here. I chopped those down after I transplanted them because they were doing a little bit laggy. Now they're popping up. And then I popped in some more beans. So this is black bean. Black bean came up, and then I have 2 other starts back there. I did start them in like a little seed tray, but this one kind of popped before everybody else. So I'm hoping that the other 2 will be in there. If not, I do have starts. Hopefully they will sprout as well, because they're a little bit of older seed, but it is what it is. All right, the front up here of this little flower spot here, the Shasta Daisies are freaking huge. Like, I think that's about 3.5 feet tall, which is like fantastic. Like, it gets a good amount of morning sun, and it kind of goes toward the afternoon when it gets shaded, and then it gets a little bit more evening sun at the end. But like, it is doing fantastic. I've just kind of put a lot of compost over the years into the front of here, so I'm thinking that's what it is. I do have to weed up here, so I should probably do that at some point soon. But bachelor buttons, the daylilies and stuff are kind of doing crazy up here. But that's pretty cool. I like than that. Just kind of a cool little extra bit, kind of nice for the street, and hopefully people appreciate the nice looks. All right, over here in the blueberry patch, I don't know if you can see this, but yeah, I got some bird netting, which is actually really cheap. I don't know why I didn't bother to get it. All I did was just drape it over the plant, which I think is fine, but this way I should hopefully get some of the berries, more than I've had in past years. I mean, it's a little bit finicky. I could have made like a structure and draped over that, which I might do at some point, but I just kind of got it and threw it on there right now. And I do need to get into there because you can see the bed down there is super weedy. But you know, I'll eventually get to doing this. There's just a lot to do in this yard this year because I let a lot of things kind of go and a bit weedy, so at least in my more perennially flowery bed type thing, so I have to refresh those. And then here, kind of like in this spot, I still haven't figured out what to put here because I need to figure out something. I might throw tomatoes here because this gets a good amount of sun. It's not getting sun right now because the lilac, but it will get afternoon to like evening sun from just how it is. So I'm thinking I might put a tomato here because I do have the extra tomatoes, or maybe some more basil because I do have basil potted up. But basically, when I go to bring the hose down, it kind of comes here and it can kind of go there. So I might have to do something so I don't smush the plants here. So that's kind of like why I'm kind of putting off stuff, and I put the chives back there. So I'm thinking this might be just an herb bed because it's kind of closer to the house here. I do love my basil. Over here, the beans. These beans are doing very well as well. There are, you know, beans coming on. The cabbage came back, which I'm kind of happy about. I don't know if it's going to do anything because some critter decided to hop the fence. But the cabbages kind of popped back, so I might get some cabbages out of here. And I do have strawberries along the back here. So like this one has been here for a couple of years. I moved it. And these ones, which you can see are like a little bit lighter, I actually found growing over on the side of my shed, which I don't even know how they got there. I'm assuming somebody had a strawberry, munched it there, and kind of dropped the seeds, which is fine. So I'm going to try to let these migrate and fill the bed, or I might pick up some more. Because I do like the strawberries, and this originally was the strawberry bed, but then they just kind of died off from my neglect, I think. Because, you know, strawberries usually are pretty prolific, but I didn't cover them last winter or the winter before, and they just didn't really come back. So you actually do have to, you know, straw your strawberries or do some kind of mulch. Otherwise, they will end up dying the crowns, I believe is what happened. Okay, right here in the middle area, had the garlic there on the side, so it's just kind of chilling there. Those ones will be harvested. The Cosmo popped up. Then I have my eggplant. Then this. So it's kind of weird. Kind of goes from smaller to medium to large, and then on the patio, which is that way, is even bigger in the pot. So I'm not terribly surprised, but yeah, the pot seems to be doing much better than over here. I'm assuming it's just from the ambient temperature, because this is just kind of in the ground, so it's going to be a little bit like not as warm. But what I'm thinking of doing, because I have a free pot up there, I might pop the littlest one or maybe the middlest one here and kind of put it in a big pot up there, because that one seems to be doing a lot better. This one seems to be doing okay, so I might just leave that one and see how it does, just because, you know, eggplants. But yeah, so up here is a zucchini squash. I did have a buddy of it over there, but that one got munched on or something, so that's fine, because I do have more zucchinis going. But yeah, I have the tomatoes here. Threw up the T-posts. The Makoto tomatoes are doing okay. I'm going to let them kind of grow up and kind of slowly train them up here, but from what I've read is these might be more of a determinate variety, because they're only supposed to get about 4 feet tall, which is still enough that you'd want to stake it. And then I have volunteer tomato, which I need to rip out, because you can see all the weeds I just kind of threw in the middle there as I was weeding the other day. Just kind of like leaving them there. Leeks over here are actually doing okay. They just seem to like the spot better than in the middle garden, probably because there's just more sunlight here, because this is like the sunniest spot of the yard. But yeah, some volunteer squash there. Then over here, I had some radishes, but they're not doing great. I think I might throw some squash over here and just kind of like let that kind of bush out over here, because yeah, more zucchini squash I'm thinking. All right, coming up on this flower bed here, Dusty Millers, the plant that I can't remember because I got it from the nursery, some zinnias, the plant that I totally forgot what it was. When it blooms, I might remember. Then I have snapdragons in the middle here, and then just mirrored on the other side. And then in front of the garden over here, we got some of the Dusty Millers and those flowers there. And then there is the nasturtium, which keeps coming back each year, which is fantastic. Something comes and munches on it, I don't terribly mind. And then I have potatoes that are just kind of growing outside the garden. I think they're, you know, growing into the garden there, but that's kind of fine. I'm just kind of letting them go. We'll just have random potato plants, which the flies seem to like, but that's fine. It's whatever. I'm going to pop into the garden this time. And yeah, so the celery here is doing pretty good. They're starting to become celery heads, which is fantastic. You can still see it. I do need to do more weeding because I am trying to stay on top of things, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this so far. I've harvested a little bit of it for salad, kind of snipping the tops and kind of letting it grow back. Don't know if that's going to be terrible for it, but it is starting to get to the summer because I think today's like the second day of summer officially. But yeah, so I'm just kind of letting it go because I do know that it doesn't like the heat too much. But I want to see if I can get these a little bit bigger before harvest, but I don't want them to get too woody and stringy. So I might, do a little bit of a succession harvest and kind of take like a row out or so and kind of munch on those. Then up front here, this is where the cabbage was before, but since something decided to come and munch on it, I decided to just kind of pull it and kind of cut my losses. So I put more radishes here, which I don't know if they're gonna, become radishes before they start bolting. And then I have some more beets kind of thrown over here. And of course, more weeds, because it's forever weeds. But yeah, then over here is the carrots and the beets that I initially put in. So I'm pretty happy because I actually might get some carrots this year. And the beets seem to be doing fairly well. Not terribly greatly spaced. Then over here, I added this spot so this way I could kind of do some more growing because it just seemed like a waste of space. And I put down the mesclun mix here, which again, I did a lot and very heavy. So what I'm thinking I might do is to kind of pop some of these out and kind of fill them up over here in this spot. Or if I take out radishes and just kind of put more mesclun here and kind of clean up these borders a little bit. Because there's a lot of weed pressure. I did disturb the soil a bit when I kind of redid the beds here, but you can kind of tell it's mainly around the borders where the wood chips meet the compost, because that's where a lot of the soil was uncovered, because I did pile the compost up there. Beans are doing good back here. They are doing some production. You can see some beans, which is good. I'm going to probably do maybe a light harvest in the next couple of days, because some of them are looking pretty good, and kind of do some more weeding here. But yeah, I'm fairly happy because I'm going to get something out of here. I'm not sure what I'll put in next, because these beans are like a half-season type crop. I could follow it with it, but I'm not entirely certain what I'm going to put in these. All right, in the trial type beds that I have going here, and then the sheet mulching bed there, I have a little bit going on here. So up here, the celery that I put in is doing great. I think I put onions in the front, but they died. I don't remember what I put in the back, but that died off if I planted anything there. So I'm just kind of weeding and just kind of sticking it there because I'm being kind of lazy. I put in an extra celery there because the celery that I had there got munched on by something. But the new addition is the basil plants here. So I put 5 there, 5 there, kind of doing the matching. That's the dig. This is the no dig. So I'm hoping that's doing well. I did sprinkle on some of the blood meal on both sides when I kind of did some planting. I keep it fairly even to kind of keep it fair and kind of even, so this way you can kind of get a rough idea of what's going on. And over here in the sheet mulching garden, the peas have decided to flop over. I ended up having to put in some stakes at the end, and then I ran some paracord down there just to try to keep them up, but they've kind of flopped over, which I guess is fine, because I do underneath have romaine lettuce, some mustard greens here, some more weeds, the kale, and then there is more lettuce underneath here. And I don't know if this is a great idea or not, but I do know that when it gets hotter, the lettuces and stuff will do like a little bit more shade, particularly like the romaine, because of like the heat, and they like to kind of try to go to head. So I've just kind of let them kind of continue to drape over. But yeah, the peas are actually kind of doing crazy. Like, it's one of those things where I've never really tried to do peas very well. Don't know why, but like this is like the best growth that I've ever had with peas, probably because I've actually bothered to let them climb into a trellis and kind of put them a bit thicker. Because I've always done just a couple here, and what I did was I kind of put 2 to 3 in like one cell, and then I planted them around the edges. So this is going to be kind of like twofold. Is one, it's going to make me a bunch of biomass that I can compost, and 2, with the peas, it's going to be fixing a little bit more nitrogen in here. But since these are going to actually be making pods, a lot of the nitrogen is going to be working its way into the pods and less into the soil, but I think that's fine. But yeah, that's going to be a huge amount of kind of just like mass that I can kind of compost up, even if I don't get a lot of peas. I mean, I've kind of gotten like a handful here and there. They're not doing too big, but like, yeah, this guy here, a little bit small, that's fine. And then like, yeah, so they're little, but they are pretty tender and tasty. All right, up here in the container garden here, we have a good amount going on. The kale here has been, I harvested a little bit off of there, but something, probably the groundhog, because I did see him kind of poking his head up here, has come up and like munched on these guys a couple of times. That's fine. I do have celery, which isn't doing great just because of the amount of light I think that's over here, because the kale really did shade it out. Up here I have turnips going on, and they're doing pretty good. Some mushrooms that's kind of going in there. So yeah, so the turnips seem to be doing good. These I think should be ready in about a month, I think, because they're starting to kind of bulb up and I don't want them too big. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. And over here is some mystery squash again. This was from seed that I saved, I think, 2 seasons ago, something like that. I don't remember what it was. So I popped it in here. If it kind of decides to vine, I'm going to try to let it vine down the hill and kind of take over that. We'll make mowing and maintaining that over there a little bit harder. This is the empty container that I'm going to transfer the other eggplant in, because you can see this eggplant is much healthier. It does have some like lower leaf pressure here, but you can see it is much healthier than the ones that I had earlier, that were all just eaten up. That's probably because this is just healthier and doing well. So I'm going to pop it into here and see if it can kind of play catch up. And then the carrots. This is where I had the radishes first, if you remember seeing that like little harvest video. And the carrots I'm actually very happy with. We'll see how long these guys survive, because they are, you know, out and about, because, you know, critters do like to come up here and munch on this. Not so much the bunnies, I don't think. They might have been scared away, possibly. But the groundhog was sniffing up here, like I said the other day. But I'm hoping that I'll get some carrots. I think these are the little short nader ones. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that. And then over here is where I have my kind of plants potted up, ready to go. Transplanted the basil into bigger pots, which I'm pretty happy about. I have some like potting mix down there, and what I do is I have the compost that I bought, so I kind of mix the compost with the potting mix when I pot up, so this way I can kind of do a little bit more fill. So like the potting mix does have like fertilizers and stuff in there. It's like the organic Miracle-Gro one. Kind of just grab that one and then mixed with the compost. So I figure that should do pretty good. So this way they have roots, something to kind of grab into. And then these here are cucumbers, which I'm going to need to figure out where I'm going to put. Because I want a sunny spot so I can actually get cucumbers, but I also don't want anything too crazy. And then you can see here, I have more of the Makoto tomatoes, which are doing a little bit stressed, so I might need to plant them and pot them up. And then this one here, yeah, this row here is the black cherries, which are actually setting fruit. So those also do need to go into the ground. Oh, more snapdragons. I almost forgot that they were there, but I kind of put them as a divider. And there is the sun gold, which is a little bit more stunted, but now that I have them into the bigger pots, I think they'll be good. But yeah, I do have to put them somewhere, or I'm just gonna have to keep potting them up, which is a possibility. But yeah, those are the kind of the starts that I have going on. And then on my back porch, I have some seed trays going with some more flowers. So that's it for the garden tour for June. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. You can check out my Facebook page. The link is down in the description. I kind of just post short little videos if I make little videos, and like photos and stuff just kind of from the garden as I do. But yeah, feel free, subscribe there, like it, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys. Bye!